guys, welcome back to episode 6 of season 2, Astrea's Broken Heart. Let's see, what are we getting into? What happened in the last episode? There was a siren. That was crazy. And this one is called Remember Death. And I didn't appreciate the jump scare, but this is a horror story, so there will be some elements of horror in it. And even more here. Here we go. Warning, this episode contains violent scenes and descriptions of death. Please read on with caution. Melody pressed her forehead against the cool glass of the window and waited for dawn. One by one. Oh, right. We just realized we were in actual danger in our dreams because the amulet that Cassiel just gave me, started burning in the dream. And the dream father figure reacted to the amulet. It was like, get that thing off. Which I mean, it actually does help. So we need to keep that thing on and keep it safe. One by one, the stars in the sky died, allowing newborn light to peer through the resulting void. It brought with it a new day and new hope, but she no longer trusted its deceptive rays. The morning brings me another trial. The night brings me nightmares. Melody nearly slid off the windowsill. Her limbs felt limp, as if they had lost their bones overnight. I need to pull myself together and find Cassiel. He better be kind enough to explain why the amulet reacts to nightmares. The gift on her chest no longer burned. Instead, there was only a pleasant coolness. But during the night, it was the amulet that had awakened her with its warmth. Melody headed for the shower. She did her best to ignore the bed. That simple piece of furniture had become a repository of horrors, a place she no longer wanted to be in. And it looks like such a comfy bed, too. This outfit is cute. Okay, that's cute, too. Interesting. What an interesting choice. Fascinating. Oh, I really like this. We're gonna go with this workout right here. After changing, Melody fixed her hair. Interesting. They do a lot of pigtail things in this one. You ever notice that? We get a lot of options like that. I like that cut. That was so loud. Cassiel didn't respond to the knock on his bedroom door. Melody decided to linger in the hallway. She went downstairs to the kitchen and brewed herself a cup of coffee. Reddit, for real, you gotta stop. It's gotta quit. I can't with Reddit right now. It's just like the Stardew Valley Reddit. I can't right now. Hold on. Notifications sound down. All the way. Get away from the microphone. Thank you. Okay. She decided to indulge in the small pleasure of enjoying the drink outside. Oh yeah, maybe we'll find him here. The aroma of the coffee mingled with the cool freshness of the morning garden. Axel silently emerged from the shadows to join her. Melody patted him affectionately on the head and waited for the wolf to settle at her feet. Melody didn't notice how quickly time flew by. Soon the air was saturated with the warmth of the sun's rays. It embraced her like a dear friend. She basked in the soothing silence until a long-awaited figure appeared in the distance. You're out here more often than I am now. Hi! Good to see you. We need to talk. Okay, switch to Cassiel's path. I might have been clicking a bit too fast, but suddenly she was like, last part I read was like, she veered to the side And we end up in the spot where Cassiel was destroying everything once he saw her after she came back, very, very hurt. So this is different. Okay, a wholly different setting. What happened here? It seemed like a hurricane had swept through this part of the garden, merciless, ferocious, focused solely on a small patch of land. Only a human could be so merciless and selective in their cruelty. Broken branches lay underfoot. Well, not only a human, covered with withered rosebuds. The sight will break Cassiel's heart. This is his favorite garden, after all. Melody was driven by a desire to spare him the pain. She knelt down in the front of a bush, its roots stuck halfway out of the ground. The loose, damp earth clung to her hands, but yielded willingly. Melody ignored the cold that stiffened her skin and kept working on saving the plants. She patted the ground one last time. I should hide these branches, too. There was no time to think about her clothes. She wanted to clear away the signs of destruction as quickly as possible. The gathered evidence pricked at her feebly. She ignored his resistance and pressed it against the bend of her elbow. She carried it deeper into the bushes, hoping Cassiel wouldn't look there. Then I asked one of the others to take out the trash. Or I asked Filoni to quickly burn these branches. A cautious, quiet voice interrupted her work. Melody? What are you doing here? She jumped to her feet and hid her dirty hands behind her back. She began to babble so quickly that Cassiel had to strain his hearing to understand what she was saying. Cassiel, don't worry. It's not as bad as it looks. I don't know what kind of idiot did this, but it doesn't matter. We'll fix it. Kind of idiot. The bushes are intact. That's what matters. The roses will bloom again. Fortunately, there was no emotion on his face other than the usual confusion. Cassiel wasn't angry, wasn't upset. He was perfectly calm. Melody relaxed. Explain yourself, approach him, wait for him to speak. Well. Melody slowly approached him. She stopped close to him, ready to answer any of his questions. And you... Cassiel didn't finish his sentence. He saw the pile of branches sticking out of the bushes and noticed her dirty hands. His realization was replaced by sorrow. Cassiel sighed heavily and looked at her reproachfully. Why are you doing this? Melody didn't grasp the deeper meaning behind his words. Her understanding remained somewhere on the surface. But her simple response was enough for Cassiel to understand. I didn't want you to see this. I wanted to clean this up. I know how much this place means to you. Come, there's a fountain nearby where you can wash your hands. Melody sensed that something was off, but Cassiel didn't scold her. But sadness filled the air around them and poured out of his eyes. It was impossible to ignore. A new section? How pretty. A dilapidated gazebo with a fountain inside was the answer to a long-forgotten question. Now I see why Cassiel told me not to wander around the garden at night. The cracked stone steps were overgrown with moss here and there. They didn't inspire confidence. Cassiel held his hand to her, helping her up and guiding her past the chipped and broken parts. He was tall enough to escort her to the top step while remaining on the ground. Thank you. The fountain, like the stairs, looked old and decrepit, but the water in it was surprisingly crystal clear. Melody rinsed her hands. She instinctively looked around for a towel. When she found none, she just shook her hands out. They'll dry on their own. Come down, but be careful not to break your neck. His outstretched arms swayed impatiently. They invited her to take them and accept his help. My hands are wet. So what? Nothing. Melody hadn't even taken a step when the stubborn Cassiel scooped her up by the waist. lifted easily off the ground, and her fingers gripped his broad shoulders. Melody pressed her chest against his and felt heartbeats quicken, both hers and his. It used to be easier to touch Cassiel. Even thinking about him used to be shamelessly easy. And it used to be fun to make him blush. Now Melody averted her gaze. She was afraid to let it linger for another second. And it's like I have something to hide now. A secret was indeed growing deep within her. At first it had been a small seed, an idle attraction to an unattainable but alluring body. A desire of the flesh and nothing more. But then Melody thought about him. The stronger her desire grew. But the more Melody thought about him, the stronger her desire grew. Now his body alone wasn't enough. The seed took root, entwining her heart like the plants in his garden. It was squeezed to a sweet ache whenever she imagined his frowning face. When she spent time here in the garden, she didn't seek peace. She sought his company. She realized it so clearly now. Without realizing it, Melody had cultivated feelings within herself. I love the garden references. It's very nice. And it's up to you whether this plant has thorns or not. Time passed. Cassiel still hadn't put her on the ground. Her waist had only been held by his hands a moment ago. Now it was embraced by his strong arms. Melody pressed against his body. She couldn't tell if she was clinging to him or he was holding her tighter. Or maybe they were both unconsciously reaching for each other. Melody bit her lip. Their gazes met. Melody could swear that the same feeling swirled in his dark, hazy eyes. Cassiel was embarrassed. His grip loosened for a moment. Fearing it in with him running away again, Melody reached for him. She whispered in a small voice, broken by a confession. Don't push me away. Don't let go. Please. Melody was asking him not to shut himself away. She pleaded with her eyes, with her gentle hands gliding along his tense neck. She begged with her ragged breaths, with her trembling fingers touching his clenched jaw. She pleaded with her entire being. And the demon, prayed to for the first time, could not help but respond. His muscles tensed and pulled her closer, but he suddenly felt vulnerable, soft, and malleable, like clay. I won't. Melody was breathless. The flower inside her had bloomed. A blood-red bud opened. It burst into dozens, hundreds, thousands of petals. There were so many. They filled her mind, her chest, all of her. Melody could taste them on her tongue. They were choking her, making it hard to breathe. She was overwhelmed by her own feelings. They were tearing her apart from the inside. Melody longed for only one thing, to let them out. And there's only one way out. His face, so yielding, was still in her hands. Melody pressed her lips to his and allowed her feelings to pour out in an unrestrained torrent. The emotions engulfed them both. Melody felt like she was in the eye of a hurricane. Her head was spinning. If Cassiel hadn't been holding her so tightly above the ground, she wouldn't have been able to stay upright. Why didn't I do this sooner? The kiss grew more insistent, but did not lose its tenderness. Cassiel restrained both of their impulses. He didn't let either of them lose their senses completely. He would pull away for just a moment, exactly when she needed to take a breath. And then he returned to her lips with such sweet anticipation, as if each time was a first for him. She was drunk with happiness. She had the sudden thought that they had finally broken out of their stalemate. Now she could kiss him whenever she wanted. Now he could stay in her room when she was scared. The realization that she might now have someone in her life to embrace at night made her want to cry. Cassiel seemed to sense her melancholy mood. He pulled back. Are you alright? Melody hid her flushed face in his neck. Yes. Just can't believe this is really happening. Cassiel seemed to share her feelings completely. He set her on her feet, but didn't break the embrace. Now her head rested on his broad chest. He stroked her hair gently and thought about what would come next. How am I supposed to live my life now, Melody? I was the one who ruined that part of the garden. He was interrupted by a look full of tenderness. It doesn't matter. We'll make it even better, even more beautiful. He didn't know how to express his gratitude. He pulled her close again. Let's go inside, Melody. This kiss means a lot to Cassiel, but what does it mean to you? A cup of coffee is not breakfast. Melody didn't object. She felt like she would never object to his words again. Even though she loves to tease him, so she definitely will. They stood for a little while longer before heading back, pausing briefly at the statue of Astrea. They sat on the bench to spend some time with the one who meant so much to Cassiel. They both kept casting shy, cautious glances at each other. Shifting to a normal, mundane conversation turned out to be harder than expected. I wanted to talk to you about the amulet you gave me. What about it? This morning it heated up while I was sleeping, so much so that it woke me up. Cassiel blinked in confusion. What did you dream about? My father. Is the amulet supposed to react to dreams? No, it's not. The decision was not an easy one for Cassiel. I will ask Somnus to take a look at your dreams. No. Melody, it's necessary. As if there's no other option. I will let him near me. Maybe he's the one sending them to me. That's what I thought at first, but I don't think so. I'm just not sure I'm ready for that. Do you really think it's necessary? It seems so. I can't say I'm thrilled about it, but if there's no other choice. You can bring yourself to trust Somnus. Your relationship with him has improved. There's a relationship bar with Somnus? Better not be romantic. I ain't doing it. I refuse. The fact that the amulet heats up during sleep is very strange, Melody. It would be foolish not to seek the help of someone who can actually do something about it. Can he really? Will he enter my dream and kill the monsters? We don't know anything about dreams, Melody. Immortals don't usually dream. But there are seers, and then there are those like Somnus. They don't just see dreams, they control them. And only God knows what else they're capable of. You know, that sounds like another reason not to let him near me. Cassiel seemed to have doubts of his own, so he didn't press the matter any further. Alright, he hasn't even agreed yet. Maybe we're arguing for nothing. Melody picked up the empty cup and stood. Cassiel followed suit. Well then, let's go and find out. There's no point in delaying things. But their plans were not meant to be. Mikael was approaching them. Judging by the look of things, it was urgent. Mikael stopped just a few steps away. He spoke impatiently and with authority. We need to fly. Now. What happened? There's an unfamiliar presence near the spear. Raphael and David are already flying there. Spear? What spear? Melody, you have to stay on your own for a while. Mikael clearly had no time for questions. She could only guess what spear he was talking about. Alright, I understand. The tension spread to her as well. I don't recall them ever heading out on an assignment as a whole group. But Melody sensibly regained her composure. She didn't hold them back, going into the house. She turned around almost immediately, but there was no one behind her anymore. Wonder what that is about. The spear? You know, I keep thinking about this picture over here. Remember what he said about how David said that that Mikael's hair used to be like more fluffy? It does look fluffier in the picture, if that's supposed to be him. Which I think it is. But I don't know. The silence of the house often gave her a sense of seclusion, but only now did she realize that she was truly alone. Melody began to notice things she hadn't seen before. The house, empty of its inhabitants, seemed to have lost its essence. It had become quiet and lifeless. It felt vast and empty, like a worn-out shell devoid of a soul. A ringing silence descended upon her. Its oppressive atmosphere felt even more intense in a building as large as this. This feels weird. Melody spoke out loud and shuddered at the sound of her own voice. She was surprised by the unease that had suddenly settled within her. She had never been afraid of living alone. Yes, she felt lonely, but solitude didn't frighten her. Melody wandered down the hall. She stopped near the painting depicting the inhabitants of the house. We get a better look. So it really is them. They managed to live as recluses for so many years without arousing suspicion. Or maybe they erased the memories of any accidental visitors. Wise, weary eyes, rendered in oil, stared back at her. How often did they have guests at all? Her thoughts were interrupted by a muffled knock on the front door. Melody instantly felt like a little girl left alone by her parents. She wanted to hide and not poke her nose out until the strange noises stopped. Oh, silly. Open the door, look silently through the peephole. There's nothing wrong with looking through the peephole. Listen. I don't know if we want to ignore it. Let's just take a peek. Look. Don't just be opening doors. Like, even I check before I go, you know. Melody walked softly on the carpet. She kept toward the door. If it's someone I don't know, I'll call Fel. Or go to the garden and look for the wolf. But she didn't have to carry out those plans. There was a familiar voice behind the door. Oh. Okay, I'm picking that option every time. When no one answered, the quest began to leave a voice message. Oh, the guest began to leave a voice message. I don't think I mixed up the date and time, Mikael, but apparently something pulled you away from the house. Melody flung the door open. Malek cut his message off mid-sentence. He hung up and grinned broadly. Melody, where's your boss? It's so unprofessional to schedule a meeting with me and then disappear. Mikael has some business to attend to. He's not at home. Did something happen? Mal's concern had no effect on her. She lied without hesitation. Maybe he really did forget about you? What Astrea needs is a secretary. And what about your other colleagues? She shrugged and smiled mysteriously. Who knows? The house is huge. I don't keep track of them. To avoid telling any more lies, Melody changed the subject. Did you find anything interesting? I found an old abandoned church and wanted to invite Mikael on a date. A church of the beast? Possibly. Melody wasn't sure how, but she felt like this might actually help move the search forward. That's great news. We could check out the church ourselves, since Mikael is busy at the moment. The smile slowly faded from her face. Meanwhile, Malek seemed to become even more amused. You could bring one of your colleagues along. If you can find them in his huge house, of course. Did he figure out that I was lying? Definitely. Melody decided to stick to her story and not give in. Let's invite Felonia, in case we ran into something dangerous there. I'd be delighted, Melody. Go get ready. I'll give her a call. How do you have her number? How does he have her number? Melody practically dashed upstairs. Malek waited at the doorway. Like an evil creature that can't enter without an invitation. You might not be that far off, honey. Just saying. Melody stifled a nervous laugh. She left a message for Mikael. Thank you. She called Fel to check if her outing with Malek would interrupt anything important. Felonia said she'd sooner quit her job and let Melody wander through suspicious churches with Malek. That was the end of her preparations. Melody took a quick look at herself in the mirror, then went downstairs. I might do a little switcheroo. It's beautiful, but I kind of hate it here. But I kind of love it though. Wow, those windows are really beautiful. Look at that architecture. Wow. Alright. A small Gothic building nestled away from prying eyes in the dense forest. The southern part of the city was known for its old chapels. It embraced the structure as one of its own. The only thing that faintly hinted at its true nature were the unusual red-stained glass windows. Felonia carefully inspected the inside of the church. Then she began to check the surroundings with a couple of police officers. Malek and Melody stayed to examine the interior, a potential site of worship for the beast. Where should I start? Inspect the altars. Melody approached one of the statues and took a closer look. It appeared that a sacrificial liquid had once flowed from its marble mouth. The brownish stains resembled rust, but they were clearly something else. I'm certain that blood floated into these bowls. A lot of blood. I suppose that suits the beast. Examine the pedestal. The unusual pedestal in the center of the hall looked regal and imposing. It was clearly meant for someone very important. Thin grooves led to it from the altars, intertwining in intricate patterns. Do you think they put the victims in the center? I think the altars were for the sacrifices. The pedestal was probably for whoever the sacrifices were made to. The followers gazed into the circle and waited for their god. Melody walked slowly along the walls. She tried to figure out what language the unfamiliar words were written in. I used to know a good cryptographer. We could really use her knowledge. The walls depict methods of worship. What are they? Nothing out of the ordinary. Life and death, murder and orgies. Very ordinary. Even though there's no sign of the beast here, I still really think Mikael should take a look at this place. Quite confident in your conclusions. Malek ran his hand thoughtfully over the marble skin of a statue, as if wiping away invisible tears. The professor's wistful mood stirred other thoughts. You're a collector, right? Are you interested in controversial religions as well? Malek removed his hand from the lifeless face and put it back in his pocket. Controversial because someone had their throat slit here? Let's say that's why. There are many religions in the world that aren't built on blood and bones, you know. Does that make them controversial? All the bones have been buried long ago. The spilled blood has been absorbed by the earth. Pick any one of them and you'll always be both right and wrong at the same time. It became impossible for her to hold back a tactless question. Who do you believe in? Malek smiled and leaned forward. Myself. And just a little bit in people. He echoed each word with a step. On the last one, Malek stopped close to her. His whisper touched her ear. Shall we go? Or shall we stay here a little longer? Oh, I always have one more answer to a question like that. One answer to a question like that. Let's talk some more. Wonderful. The satisfaction on the professor's face sent shivers down her spine. Attention, the most expensive choice will only have a romantic tone for those who are pursuing a relationship with Malek. Otherwise, the dialogue will be friendly and you'll discuss the MC's childhood. They went out of their way. They're like, listen, we want you to buy these options. Do not be afraid just because you think you might accidentally romance him. Fair. So this must be, whatever we're about to find out must be really important information to the story. So, what do you want to talk about? Which only senses it to me that he's so important to the story. There aren't many options. Yeah, let's talk about that. smile, by the way, is so creepy. So you believe in yourself like others believe in God. Does that make you a supporter of anthropotheism? Anthropotheism is the concept of equating humans with deities and attributing divine qualities to them. How charming, Melody. No, I really appreciate your attempt to define my views. And I respect this little weakness of yours, the desire to give everything a name. Everything that has a name becomes more understandable, safer, right? But everything that is nameless and faceless terrifies us. Malek smiled tenderly, almost fatherly. He spread out his hands. Well, if you want, let it be so. We are all equal in the beginning. Only our actions add levels, higher or lower. Man creates gods in their own image, Melody. That's why we have such a wide selection. The conversation energized the professor. His eyes lit up with a fanatical gleam. The selection is wide indeed, but only in theory. What about in essence? In essence, there should be a casting call for the place of God. The most worthy should sit at the top. Do you think any of us has the right to stay on that pedestal? Homo homini dos est. Latin for man is a god to man. The phrase was familiar to her. She completed it. Man is a god to man if he knows his duties. Malek responded with a smile and stepped onto the center of the pedestal. If he can give what is asked of him. There was a click under his feet and the pedestal sank. Old, rusty machinery rattled above the heads of the visitors to the church. Dust and grit fell like gray rain. Melody shielded her eyes with her hand. She squinted and looked up. Red mirrors appeared in the center of the ceiling. Trapped rays of sunlight quivered in the room and converged on one spot, the professor. The red light falling on his face resembled blood and made his figure look ominous. Do I look like a god? Melody couldn't tell if he was joking or being serious. Did he want an answer? Or was he simply trying to evoke some kind of emotion in her? Or maybe it didn't matter if there was anyone in front of him at all. Maybe he was addressing himself. Melody didn't understand how the mechanism worked, but the shadows cast by the statues were growing. They spread across the walls, rising like giants above her and the man who fancied himself a god. Is that why you help everyone in need? Do you believe that by doing so, you become a higher being to them? That's right, Melody. I give them far more than just hope. And if I truly were a god, people would kneel before me out of their own unbearable desire, not out of fear. That's the true essence of a higher being, the desire of others to submit to it. Gratitude and adoration. I give them what they want here and now, rather than promising them joy later. Just a few days ago, Melody might have agreed with him, but now you're so sure that there is no hell or heaven waiting for us. Yes, Melody. Afterward, there will be nothing, emptiness and decay. We will all return to where we came from, turn to dust, rise from the ashes. Only to return to dust again. Malek couldn't suppress a delighted smile. Melody didn't know what strings of his soul she had touched, but Malek's voice actually sounded like a song. Everything has an end, my dear Melody. So live now and serve only yourself, or serve the one who can give you everything you desire. Melody fell silent. She was completely confused by his worldview. It was hard to believe in Malek's humanism, but he wasn't a narcissist either. There seemed to be something else driving him. Or maybe I don't understand him at all? Malek stepped down from the pedestal and the red glow disappeared. I I no longer know what to think. I'm just confused. It was a curious topic, even if it was a slippery one. It certainly fueled people's imaginations for a reason. How do you know what exactly is written on the walls? What language is this? Look around, Melody. It's not hard to guess what went on here. I wouldn't have figured it out without your hand. Really? Then I'll tell you more. It's obvious that they didn't slit throats in this room. The executioners did it quietly, without unnecessary noise, because they needed a lot of blood. It's not easy to fill such a deep bowl, and there's no space for bodies here. Melody grimaced. Malek smiled. This was a place of debauchery. I say debauchery because I doubt that the process had any other goal other than the satisfaction of lust. Are you judging them? Of course not, Melody. Lust is perhaps the most pleasant sin. I am certainly not sinless myself, so how can I judge the lustful? Within these walls, they moaned and writhed. They unleashed animal passions and gave in to every desire. Imagine your dirtiest fantasy, Melody. Here, they don't put you on your knees to whip your lowest thoughts out of you. Here, they put you on your knees to bring your fantasy to life. Malek listened to his tie with deliberate slowness. Melody imagined kneeling before him. She imagined his tie tightening around her neck, his commanding hands pulling her toward him, pulling so hard that she had to find her balance against him, somewhere at trouser level. Her fingers felt the cold metal of the buckle. Such a vivid, lively fantasy. Melody heard the faint click of his belt. It promised bliss to at least one of them. A wave of heat swept through her body. For a moment, she thought she had given herself away with a random breath, glance, or movement. Her dirty, secret thoughts escaped and managed to reach the one they were addressed to. Damn provocateur. He knows what I'll think about this. The desire to repay him in kind became overwhelming. To make him blush and feel awkward instead. Is that even possible? Melody glanced meaningfully at his tie. She smiled innocently. Did your own stories make you feel hot? It was the opportunities unfolding before me. Innocent and unspoiled, yet so eager to correct that misconception. Is he talking about me? Melody licked her lips nervously and said, A little more and I decide that you're trying to seduce me, Malek. You know exactly what I'm doing. I know it. Shall we try being honest for a change? What a snake. Do you want to pin me down that badly? The sentence was deliberately ambiguous. Malek understood it. Don't tease me, Melody. I don't like to hold back, and I don't know how. If there's something you want, tell me directly. I'll give it to you. Melody burned with indignation. She parted her lips. How presumptuous. Right now? And and right here. If you want something, take it, Melody. How convenient. So we don't care about your desires then. Melody was sure Malek wouldn't play along, wouldn't go any further. But with a predatory tilt of his head, he whispered, Only a fool wouldn't want you. And I don't consider myself a fool. Melody believed that just one word could take their strange relationship to another level. Sex without commitment? Don't rush, Melody. Figure yourself out. But next time, don't start this conversation if you plan to back out. Malek didn't wait for an answer. He ended the subject himself. Malek will return to this topic. What does it say? Malek is happily starting to get closer to him. What do you mean he'll return to this topic? Lord. Why do you spend your time on us? Because I want to, Melody. All of you fascinate me immensely. You and your colleagues. Malek emphasized the last word, which made her uncomfortable. It's my fault that he's so interested in them. Melody hadn't brought up the subject of angels again after the hypnosis session, but she was well aware that Malek remembered everything. Did he believe that Raphael is an angel? She didn't want to clarify. I've already told him so many unnecessary things. It's better if he thinks I'm delusional. The prolonged silence was broken by an unexpected confession from Malek. I grew up in a monastery. The only entertainment I had was the stories my mother told me. What were those stories about? About people, so different and yet so similar. You could say she gave me this fascination with the fates of others. And I'm willing to fight for every soul, Melody. I'm ready to give everyone a chance. With a sly smile, Malek whispered, but only one. My mercy isn't limitless either. I wish I had his ego. I swear, every time we have one of these, we only had one before, but I'm always left just so flabbergasted. like my head is just like, I don't even. There was nothing else to talk about. Malek sensed this. He gave her a meaningful look in the direction of the door. The police must be waiting for us by now. Felonia had indeed finished inspecting the area. She entered the church herself. On her way to them, she answered the obvious question before they could voice it. We found a cellar full of human remains. You better return to Astrea. Why everything light up? Felonia's words suddenly breathed life into their surroundings and made the atmosphere threatening. All speculation became deafening reality. Melody imagined candles lighting up around her as thick blood poured from the statues' mouths. She heard faint cries and pleas. The sharp smells made her dizzy. A quiet voice brought her back to her senses. Come on, Melody. I'll take you home. Sometime later, Melody waited for her colleagues to return as she processed yet another shock. She tried to imagine what a cellar full of remains would mean for the agency, how Furious and Somnus would react to it, if it could have been prevented. Who should I report this to first? Mikael, Somnus, or Furious? No one. I say Mikael, so I don't have to talk to those guys. Well, I get in trouble if I don't. Surely reporting to Mikael can't necessarily be wrong. Okay, how about I try it two ways? Here on Malek's route, I'll try the two goobers, and then switch to Mikael's route and try Mikael over there. It's silly to be offended by the alpha personalities. They're superiors. That doesn't mean you can't be offended. And I'm not a child. Okay. Wait, that was the right choice? I'm still gonna try it the other way. Melody, you're gripping that cup so hard that it's gonna crack. The voice pulled her out of one train of thought and immediately led her to another. How did you even find this church? I have many friends, the kind that dwell at the very bottom. They navigate the dark perfectly. They know seedy places you couldn't even dream of. And you stand above them like a king. Mikael won't be satisfied with that explanation. I'll explain to him differently. The cup in her hand suddenly began to tremble slightly. What? The end of her sentence was drowned out by the sound of the front door slamming into the wall. Melody jumped to her feet. Malek got up unhurriedly after her. Does Mikael always make such a dramatic entrance? Not a chance. Melody ignored the professor's question and stepped into the hallway. Malek stood just behind her. He looked at the Astreans who had burst into the house without hiding his curiosity. Their gazes were drawn to Mikael, or rather to the object he held in his hands. A spear? David and Cassiel emerged from behind their leader. They glared at Malek with undisguised hostility. They froze on either side of Mikael like dogs waiting for a command. It was unsettling. Malek, I don't have time to talk today. What is that? Was that given to them to, like, specifically to defeat the beast or something? And why is Chef so scared of this beast anyway? You're gonna have to leave. Malek didn't seem to notice the threat. Either that or he was expertly playing a role of saintly innocence. He stepped forward with a radiant smile. Of course, I wouldn't dare to take up your time. Besides, I'm sure Filoni will tell you everything and more. We can discuss the price later. Before leaving, Malek turned to the evaluator. I'll be eagerly awaiting our next meeting, Melody. As soon as the guests left Astrea, the team followed Mikael into his office. Mikael leaned the spear against the table. He turned to Cassiel. Where's Raphael? Till we find a new secure location, you have to patrol the grounds. No one must be able to enter the house. And I'm asking you too, Melody. No more guests. I usually only have the one. Mikael didn't wait for a response. She understood that this wasn't a request, it was an order. David, check our backup locations and find out what those situations are there. Keeping the spear here is not safe. The sooner we move it, the better. There was no need for him to repeat himself. Muller's colleagues nodded and left the office. Where is Raphael? That was my question. She was now alone with the boss and immediately bombarded him with questions. Let's switch over there. I am vindicated, okay? Choosing Mikael to report to is also give you reputation. So you don't have to choose those two bozos. So here we are. Okay. She was now alone with the boss and immediately bombarded him with questions. What happened? Where's Raphael? He's fine. He just needs to recover after a difficult encounter. What kind of encounter? Mikael didn't hide his fatigue. He closed his eyes and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Mikael, you promised. Mikael was caught by his own words. He relented. Alright, Melody. I can show you what happened, or I can tell you briefly. Show. Very well. Come closer and look into my eyes. Melody recalled what Filoni had said. Can you really read memories in their eyes? Come on, Melody. His icy voice quickly erased any doubt from her mind. Melody got up lightly and quickly. Soon, she was standing next to the boss. Mikael sat on the edge of the table to make it easier for her. He took her hand and pulled her closer. Melody didn't even have time to think about what she was supposed to see. The office suddenly disappeared. His great eyes pulled her into a vortex. A moment later, she found herself in a completely different place. Several hours ago. Old, ungathered leaves crunched beneath Mikael's feet, breaking the silence of the mournful place. The acolytes who used to greet the immortals with bowed heads did not come out to bow this time. They were hanging from the trees. How curious. Did they do it themselves, or... Mikael gave them a look that spoke a single message. The leader isn't here. The church doors burst open and a man stepped out. He seems to have changed a bit since we last saw him. The man was cursing and trembling all over as he hurried toward them. You deceived us. All of us. You gave us hope. Made us believe we had a chance. Mikael looked at the approaching man with undisguised disgust. He had carved a sign into his body and begun to etch it into his face. It begged to be scraped off along with his skin. Where's the spear? The man's eyes widened and he shouted louder. We're all doomed. Rivers of fire awaits us. We will all die so that you creatures can rule. Damn heavenly rats. He showed us the true God. The sphere is still here. I can feel it. Mikael slowly approached the acolyte. He held out his hands as if to calm the man. The man was surprised, and he actually fell silent. Hope flickered across his face. But Mikael didn't calm him with an embrace. He broke the acolyte's neck in one quick motion. He didn't even glance at the fallen body as he called over his shoulder to Raphael. Take the sphere. The wind from Raphael's wings flung sand and dry leaves into the traitor's frozen face. David watched Raphael fly and remarked thoughtfully, "Did our failed thief come here just to look at the vault? He wouldn't have been able to take it so easily. It seems more like a trap. Is that where Raphael's hurt? Whether it is or not, the sphere must be moved. Burn the bodies." Just to be clear, Mikael added, "But first get them down from the trees. There's no need to take them down from the trees." Can we at least get them down? Maybe all of them were in on whatever that guy got into his head? We'll throw them all into one grave. The ground... Damn, another one is skeptic? Oh, that's rough. The ground beneath their feet stirred as if in protest against the desecration. The dead rose to defend the newcomers, reaching out their hands in a twisted offer of help. Blackened fingers clamped around the ankles of the Astreans, pulling them down into the churning earth. I'd rather get a picture of him in his armor without all the creepy additives. But whoa. What is this? The demon's eyes flared with a malevolent red glow as the team prepared for battle. Heads emerged from the ground after the hands. They screamed, laughed, writhed in agony. They sank their crumbling teeth into the flesh of the unwelcome guests. They crawled up their legs, trying to reach and tear out their throats. Cassiel drew his sword and slashed wildly, but the severed limb instantly reattached itself to the dead body. David tore at the corpses with his bare hands, but still couldn't escape their grasp. It was as if the dead had burst out of a disturbed anthill. They climbed and climbed upward, dragging the men down. Their wings didn't help. The creatures clawed at them as well and began to tear off feathers. What do we do? Whoa. I love his wings. Mikael didn't answer. For the first time in his many years spent on Earth, he didn't know. What power can raise and animate the dead? You can see the little gold flecks in his wings. Anger boiled inside him. Once again, he felt betrayed. Shefa, the first name drop. Shefa had sent them here without a single hint about what they would be facing. Of course not. He don't care. He had robbed them of any advantage, of any chance to prepare, and now they were drowning in grave dirt. The enemy was overwhelming, both in number and in their uncanny ability to regenerate. I'll call for help. The suggestion snapped Mikael back to his senses and cooled his mind. No. Don't you dare, David. It'll be better if we died instead, so don't you dare. Cassiel. Cassiel's eyes filled with rage. His body was encased in black armor. The ground beneath him split open to reveal a red, fiery chasm. The dark, dense shadows nearby fell into the abyss and melted in the inferno. They were replaced by hounds that rose from the very depths of hell. Their huge paws clawed at the sand walls. They're scary, but they're pretty. They look so... I want to pet them. The command was soft and calm, but the wolves heard it. Eat. I still want to get them pets. As obedient as tame dogs, they tore the enemies to pieces and gnawed their master free. Chunks of flesh flew in all directions. The animals swallowed the juiciest parts. Oh. Help the others. Having escaped, Cassiel flew to the roof of the church to catch his breath. The hellhounds felt his gaze and responded attentively to his every word. A few minutes later, David and Mikael landed beside him. You need to go check on Raphael. Shadows crawled after them. They clung to the walls and climbed over each other, reaching upward. The dogs dragged them down to the ground. They tore the shadows apart with teeth and claws, but as soon as one creature was torn apart, another would take its place. Did dear old dad ever mention that our beast could pull off tricks like this? Since when do the dead party on Earth instead of licking demons' boots in hell? They're not entirely from hell. They're from the pit. David fell silent in confusion. I can't hold them all forever. Raphael appeared silently and calmly behind them. I'll handle it, Cassiel. He handed the spear to Mikael and looked pitifully at their approaching shadows. So the beast controls souls? Poor sinful beings. There's no peace for them anywhere. Raphael's pupils disappeared behind a white glow. It enveloped the angel, expanding and pulsating. Melody already knew what would happen next. A bright flash blinded her for just a moment. It brought her back to Mikael's office. Why is Raphael so powerful? Is it because of whatever's shoved in his chest? Can I ask questions? Of course. If only it was always this easy. Hopefully I can ask about everything. Is Raphael alright? Yes, he just needs some time to recover. Does using that power hurt him? What are these souls? I'm not really familiar with the place they likely came from. We can only speculate. But clearly the beast has power over certain people, both in life and after death. What is a spear? The spear of Longinus. It has the power to ignite the apocalypse on Earth. Did he just say apocalypse? Isn't that what the four horsemen do? Are they going to need the spear? What? Huh? Or maybe there's like several different types of apocalypses. Like the four horsemen can bring one, the spear can bring another one. They might be connected though. Melody suddenly wished Mikael would be a little less open with her. You're not joking, are you? I'm being serious. It's an incredibly powerful artifact. But don't worry, no one will be able to break into the house and take it from us. Mikael's words were of little comfort. So our human prayer is worth nothing? Is fate just an empty sound? Is our fate in Mikael's hands? I feel like if they were in Mikael's hands, they might be a little bit better off. But no, unfortunately, they're in his father's hands. So yes, that makes our fate just an empty sound. Bound in the metal tip of a spear. Melody, there's nothing to worry about. We won't let an apocalypse happen. Everything will be fine. Do you hear me? Her legs simply couldn't hold up under such a heavy burden anymore. Does the beast crave the end of the world? It craves a new world, but creating a new world means the death of the old. Wonderful. Mikael glanced cautiously at the evaluator. He smiled at her composure. You're handling this remarkably well. In Astrea, I think about death so much that maybe it's not so scary anymore. And if what you say is true, then I really did die for a moment. That night when Raphael saved me. Why not call this the end of the world? Mikael interlocked his fingers tighter. He fought the urge to cover her hand with his. Back then in the church, when I lay in the pool of my own blood, it was the thought of you that saved me. His eyes immediately turned red. Did you see that? I imagined being here, next to you. It'd make the pain a little more bearable. Mikael couldn't stand it. He stood up. Hearing this was unbearably painful for Mikael. He asked her a completely unexpected question. What was Malek doing here? There was a hint of reproach in his voice. Melody tensed. He came to see you. I know that, but... Mikael stopped. He tried to soften his tone, but it didn't really work. This is undoubtedly your home as well, Melody. But when we aren't here... No guests, I understand. She didn't care what she wasn't allowed to bring... She didn't care that she wasn't allowed to bring other people into the house. She wasn't upset that Mikael scolded her, even though Malek had been inside Astrea's walls before. But it stung to hear the icy tone in which he spoke to her when they were alone. Make him jealous. What is this, high school? Next time, we'll meet at his place. It's no problem. His furrowed brows became her trophy. Melody marked this tiny victory with a charming smile. May I go now? No. This time his cold voice thrilled her. She's so silly. A single word so small yet so saturated with the feelings that escaped. Intoxicating, blinding, furious. Melody recalls some of his words. They really are extremely greedy creatures. You don't want to share? Then tell me about it. Melody held her breath and waited to see what would happen next. She hoped that this time her thoughts would be loud enough for him to read in her burning eyes. Do you see Malek often? Don't you trust him? I thought it was your own decision to cooperate with him. It's not a matter of trust. Then I don't see the problem. Melody suddenly realized that if this conversation continued, she would have to bare her soul. To confess her burning feelings for someone else, feelings she hadn't quite figured out herself. To use them to provoke Mikael. It made her feel disgusted with herself. She felt like leaving right away. Good night, Mikael. She didn't wait for an answer as she turned around, but then she was immediately turned back. Mikael held her wrist and pulled her toward him. He took a step forward. Her heaving chest was almost touching his. Only a few inches and unspoken feelings separated them. So what will you do next? Mikael still held her arm, which was bent at the elbow. He burned her with his gaze. A crystal clear blue fire swirled within. In that fire, the remaining inches burned away. Mikael was so close that she could easily touch his lips. She knew exactly who was standing in front of her, but her feelings wouldn't let her think about that right now. Not when his lips were so close to hers. Are you bored? With you? Mikael pulled away. At the agency. Melody took a step back, freeing her arm. The spell was broken, but it hadn't disappeared. It lingered in the air. It was hard to breathe. There still wasn't enough oxygen. The blue fire of his eyes had burned it away. If you're about to give me more work so I won't get bored, then no. Mikael smiled. So you're bored with me? Melody felt like she had missed something important, something genuine and alive. Like she hadn't fully grasped it in time. She felt deceived. You showed your true face. I saw it. I don't recall us spending time together outside of work. Would you like that? Melody couldn't believe her ears. It seemed like some kind of test. That depends on what you have to offer. Mikael had so much that he could offer her, far more than she could have ever imagined. But he didn't speak any pompous, lofty phrases. Instead, he smiled disarmingly. I'll think about how I can brighten up your free time. Incredible. Malek even helped me here. Mikael will certainly offer you something. He won't share you with Malek. If you have no more questions. Melanie remembered Felonia and the promise she had made to her. Mikael, I have a request for you. She didn't have a speech prepared, so she had to improvise on the fly. I know how you feel about Felonia. I understand that a lot of it is justified, but please try to help her. She just wants to know that her family is alright. Nothing more. Is that really so much to ask? Mikael took no pleasure in this conversation. Melody, just think about it, please. For my sake? Mikael nodded without answering verbally, but that was enough. Fearing that he might change his mind, Melody thanked him and quickly said goodbye. She asked him. Melody didn't even try to find her thoughts anymore as she lay in bed. There's so many of them. Let them decide among themselves what I'll worry about tonight. Melody imagined falling asleep under Somnus's watchful gaze if he agreed to help. God. Surprisingly, falling asleep became easier. Uh-oh. I'm worried about falling asleep. No nightmare can compare to that snake. Melody enjoyed her solitude and closed her eyes. But if Raphael's here, I wonder, can you see him if you're on his route? I feel like I need to check. Oh, okay. So said her feet carried her here by themselves. Malek couldn't just take Mikael's word for it. She had to see for herself. I need to make sure he's alright. Raphael, it's me. A quiet voice full of tenderness made her chest tighten. Come in, Melody. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I got my auto clicker up. Raphael was lying on his bed with his hand under his head. It was such a simple human gesture, and Melody decided she had every right to be openly worried about him. She put aside the thought that he was an immortal and went to him. He needed support and warmth. It didn't matter if he had wings on his back or not. How are you? Melody quickly scanned his body. It seemed so fragile, but this outer shell was so deceptive. I'm alright. I just need a little rest. He just seemed tired and sleepy. Melody exhaled. I wouldn't have disturbed you, but I needed to... I'll go. I won't bother you. Stay with me, Melody. Hero seems to want me to. Melody sat down on the edge of the bed. She admired Raphael's angelic features. He's so cute, oh my god. I want to touch him so badly. Okay. Guess we're going in. Oh, interesting. Raphael awakened in her a desire to give him tenderness, sensual, languid, gentle. She longed to touch his skin, to explore him. Slowly, carefully. Melody was sure that his body was as beautiful as his face. It seems like everything about him is perfect. Every feature, every strand of hair, every mole. Her curiosity burned fiercely, unbearably. But the pale light of the moon beat her to it and caressed Raphael's face. Melody pushed it away jealously and covered his face with her hand. She hid his skin from any other touch. She could rarely resist the urge to press her lips against him. She whispered, I won't give you to the beast. I won't give you to anyone. She felt a smile against her hand. Melody knew that everything she was saying was foolish, What could she, a mere human, possibly do in a battle with such powerful beings? But when she looked into his dreamy, grateful eyes, Melody truly believed in her words. She believed that her feelings would be enough to make the whole world surrender and submit. She wanted so much for Raphael to give her hope that he believed it too. That we have a future. But he remained silent. So she spoke again. When you regain your strength, we'll go somewhere. We'll take the first bus that arrives and get off at any stop that catches our eye. I can pick you up and carry you anywhere, Melody. Well, we need a bus. Melody explained. To sit cheek to cheek and gaze out the window. To intertwine our fingers and hold each other close for the entire ride. And then to get off the bus without remembering its number. So we'd have the illusion that we don't know how to get back. Raphael understood it all. He brushed his lips against her hand. I'm grateful to you, Melody. Because with you, I can be who I want to be. Not who I must be. Not who my father made me to be. With me, you can be yourself. It's exactly with you that I can't. Raphael had his deepest problem and most tender happiness in that sentence. She didn't ask what he meant, and Raphael didn't explain, so she wouldn't feel guilty or obligated. He drowned his purpose in her eyes, as if he could, he would have gladly drowned in them himself. Melody stroked his skin, enjoying the silence that united them. She was afraid to think about death, his, hers, or the world's. In this intimate silence, in the darkness of the night, a single desire grew in her, to be together. Melody felt that it was mutual. What if I had come to him when he was at full strength? What would have happened if I had come last night? Melody hoped that Raphael would recover soon and that she wouldn't regret the time she had wasted. And then I'll definitely come to you again. I'll wait for you. Why are these things passing by so quickly? I can't even freaking read them. Okay. Okay, let's be ready. Do it quick. Okay. I got it for the words popped up. Melody touched Raphael's hand in an attempt to comfort him. She covered his elegant, slender fingers. Do you need anything? I could bring you some tea. Raphael shook his head. When you're here, I don't need anything else. Imagine I'm not here. When you're not here, there's only one thing I crave. Melody pretended not to understand. She raised her eyebrow. Your presence. Melody was flustered by the confession. She tried to calm her racing heart. Maybe you do need something to eat or drink. You know, it's not like we really need it. I can eat very little. An absence of food won't kill me. It'll just weaken me. This trait seemed simple to him, but it reminded her of who was in front of her. A dying angel. Melody feared that the feelings she stirred in him were merely a longing for a life that was slipping away. For an immortal, losing a life must be unbearable. He could have had an eternity ahead of him, but he must die for those whom heaven regards as insects. But Melody had no doubts about her own feelings. The angel inspired awe in her, a reverence that was hard to overcome. She squeezed his hand tighter. You need to eat and regain your strength. I'll cook you anything you want, really. I can cook. Every surge of tenderness her words provoked in him was followed by a pang of melancholy. He wanted to give her more than just the salvation of the world. He was ready to offer her all of the feelings that had been building up inside of him for centuries. But the thought that she would have to live with those feelings without him tightened his throat and forced him to remain silent. He knew all too well what it was like to keep them inside and not let them come out. Food won't help me. Not in this case. Only time will. If I could, I would share it with you. Something inside Raphael snapped. He thought that if she was a test sent by his father, and he would fail it. If he had even the slightest chance to refuse his destiny, he would take it. He allowed himself a sinful thought, one for which his father would have skinned him. He thought she was far more precious to him than the world he had barely seen. Maybe you're the angel, not me. Melody smiled. She had no idea how many contradictory emotions she evoked inside the unfortunate man. Oh, long experience life with you. See, it takes so long with the freaking blackout screen that I missed half the freaking thing. Ugh. I'm gonna have to go back in my video and pause it so I can freaking read it. They need to work on that. Why does using your power make you feel ill? How does it work? Raphael responded reluctantly. I have a special power within me, Melody. It poisons me and is meant for someone else. You mean it was meant for Shefa and he just didn't want to bear the burden, so he just shoved it in you? The beast? For the beast, for all that he sows. Yeah, but why can't Shefa do it? Why make his son suffer? Oh, this seems... saying that out loud. Oh, relates to real life religion so much. I just noticed. Oh boy, that's a whole can of worms. Okay, let's push past that. Let's not. Yeah. Today we encountered his influence. I was able to use this poison. Now I suffer the consequences myself. A question lingered on Melody's lips, but she didn't dare to say it out loud. To unleash all my power and kill the beast, I will have to die as well. Melody shook her head stubbornly. There must be another way. Why didn't your omnipotent godfather give you another option? Why was this poison placed in you? Why you specifically? Raphael tried not to ask himself these questions. He was afraid to learn the answers. I don't know, Melody, and perhaps it's better that I don't. The pain in Raphael's voice as he spoke those last words made her fall silent. I shouldn't have brought it up again. Fatigue crept up on the evaluator unnoticed. She covered her mouth with her hand and yawned. I'm so selfish, Melody. I'm so happy to be in your company that I didn't even notice that you're tired. Please, go rest. Well, I can go lay down, but I won't be resting. He asked her so gently that Melody gave in. Good night, Raphael. Sweet dreams, Melody. Melody didn't even try to fire thoughts anymore as she lay in bed. There's so many of them, left beside themselves what I worry about tonight. Melody imagined falling asleep under Somnus's watchful gaze if he agreed to help. God. Surprisingly, falling asleep became easier. No nightmare could compare to that snake. Melody enjoyed her solitude and closed her eyes. Sleep didn't come quickly this time. It was only in the dead of the night that exhaustion set in. Is this what's left of the area they were just fighting in? Her father met her in a field. They had plenty of time, but he still wouldn't waste it. Whose side have you taken? Melody was lost in his voice. She dissolved into his righteous anger, shrinking into a lump. Her father liked that, but this time he needed answers. One specific answer, to be exact. You can still fix it. It's not too late. You can choose a true path. Listen to him. Listen to the beast. Follow his call. The amulet Cassiel had given her didn't just warm her skin, it burned, causing additional suffering. For some reason, she couldn't wake up this time. Melody sobbed. She addressed her father with a trembling voice. "You're just my nightmare. You taught me faith. God exists and he will punish you." Apparently not. You're sick. I want to say you're sick, but I think that's probably skepticism. I don't want to say this one, so... You pray to heaven yourself. Heaven doesn't care about us, Melody. Now that we agree on. Everything will burn to ashes. Everyone you love will die. Your new friends don't care about this world. Don't care about humans. They don't care about you. We're trash beneath their feet. Open your eyes and see where they're leading you. Her father grabbed his daughter by the hair and dragged her along the ground behind him. Yeah, this is super getting me to agree with you doing what you want to do. This definitely makes me believe that you care about me. He threw her to the edge of a precipice. Malek clawed the blood-soaked earth and howled. The endlessly vast pit was filled to the brim with corpses. It had no bottom, no edge. There was only terror, frozen in glassy eyes. This is the price of your new faith. Count. Choking on tears, she obeyed. Every number she uttered echoed with sharp pain in her heart, because each one carried a life that had been cut short. Melody was terrified by the disfigured faces. She squeezed her eyes shut painfully when the faces were familiar. She would stumble and start counting all over again. Again and again. This night was truly endless. Her eyes were red with tears and clouded by haze. What is she doing with that? What the heck? This is just a dream. Another dream. It's a little longer, and I'll wake up. Melody walked forward slowly. She dragged the spear behind her. The thin blade scraped against the floor, but none of the inhabitants reacted to the screeching sound. Because I'm asleep. I'm asleep. Her legs wouldn't obey her. They carried her toward the bedroom of their own accord. Melody tried to stop, but her body didn't belong to her. The door creaked softly, yielding to her trembling hand. She wanted to sob, to sigh loudly, to reveal herself, but a deafening roar was the only sound. It echoed only in her head. Now save this world from destruction. Drive the spear through Raphael's heart, Melody. Do it. Crying uncontrollably, Melody approached the bed. The metal of the spear gleamed in the moonlight, poised above the sleeping angel. Wake up, I'm begging you. I'm sorry, I flipped out so much that I accidentally paused the video. No. Where was this thing hiding at? I don't understand. That she was so easily able to get it without no one noticing. And she's scraping the thing through the house and no one's heard anything. Not a single person. What is going on? Child, somebody need to fix it. Okay. That's crazy. Okay. Anyway, that was a lot to unpack. Episode started off so nice with the scene with Cassiel and then just turned so dark and grim. The ups and downs are quite something. You had Malek there in the middle, just completely. Whew, this was a long one. There was a lot to unpack there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you next time. Bye.